Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show for the races of Saturday, July 25th. Hello to you, whether you're listening wherever you get your pods, from wherever you get your pods, or you're watching on the In the Money Media YouTube channel. Peter Thomas Fornatel, Jonathan Kinchin, back with you. Just want to let you know today's show sponsored by our friends at TwinSpires. Contests every day, which is so relevant this summer season when there's so much good stuff happening all over the country. But the big event this weekend on TwinSpires, there's a $1,000 KDBC BCBC qualifier. If you go to twinspires.com and click on that tournaments tab, you will see all the games available. But with the big contest for TwinSpires this weekend being Saratoga, we figured we'd talk about the Saratoga Pick 6. We know from the numbers, you guys always love it when we talk about what's going on at the spot. And who better to join us as the guest on today's show than a man who is situated in that very town, the aforementioned Jonathan Kinchin. JK, what's going on? How are you doing? This extended meet, is it feeling like a grind? Are you still fresh? I mean, for me, it's all to come. I can't wait to get up there eventually.
No, it's fine. I mean, I think that, one thing that's been nice that you'll probably miss a little bit is the no Wednesday racing.
Right.
So even though we're here longer, it feels like less of a grind, actually. I mean, because you feel like you actually have a day off, right? Monday usually is typically like oh my gosh, what did I do to myself the last 3 days recovery day? And then Tuesday is do I want to be crazy busy all week or do I want to work ahead day? So you really don't feel like you have a day off. Like now with Monday being the recovery day, Tuesday being a true day off, and then Wednesday being like I can start looking ahead day. It's nice, but I'll be fine when we turn the calendar into August and we start going back to 5 days a week, but it hasn't been too bad.
I will ask you, it sounds like you do know the answer, but it is the cardinal broadcasting sin to ask the question that I have no idea the answer of. When do the Wednesdays start? It's not this coming week, it's the week after?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's August. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but I'm almost positive that it's all the July dates were no Wednesdays, and then all the August dates, and with the first and the second, if I'm not mistaken, falling on a Saturday and a Sunday, naturally, I believe the first Wednesday would be that after that.
All right, we'll see. I think that all sounds right, and it'll be fun. And there'll be TwinSpires games on those days too, and other contests we'll be talking about elsewhere on our airwaves. If you want to make sure to catch all our content, not just Saratoga, but Gulfstream Mondays. We've got another Gulfstream Monday show coming up. Del Mar, of course, we're across all that, and then we've got our friends at the Gallop Out popping up here and there. A lot of coverage of Saratoga Del Mar from them as well. Make sure you subscribe to the In the Money Media channel on YouTube and the pods, wherever you get your pods. That's the best way to not miss our content. Also, we have a lot of free written content as well. Folks might want to check out inthemoneypodcast.com, the place to go. I think people don't realize the quality of analysis, and it's all free, and it's right there. Do us a favor also, while I'm talking business here, leave us a comment. Let us know your best bet on the Saratoga Saturday card. We're going to start off, JK, talking about the race that kicks off the Pick 6. Race number 7, we've got New York Breds. It's a turf allowance going a mile. How are we going to light this candle?
Yeah, I mean, I think the I don't have like a Pick 6 ticket together, but I do have just some ideas of horses that I like throughout the sequence. And the one that I like quite a bit is the 9 Haute Couture. And this is one who, when I've said this before on these airwaves, but basically using pace figures, I've with turf races, I've just kind of created this obscure formula that helps me understand kind of the inner workings of a turf race, because obviously with slow paces, it's hard to know how good a race is based on just the final number. The Flintshire example, I think, is a great one, where he had a 69 buyer, or he should have got a 69 buyer for one of his races, but he was a phenomenal horse who came home in some crazy time.
11 seconds.
And yeah, the 9 for me is one of those that fits a good profile of a horse. That I think that last race was pretty good. I thought it's pretty good while this horse was losing ground, which I think is definitely something to take into consideration. So I'm going to try to build a lot of things around the 9 Haute Couture. If the 11 draws in, a little bit interesting. The 4 is one that obviously is the morning line favorite that you could consider, but the 9 for me would be kind of that focus type horse.
Remind me your backup numbers again, JK.
The 11 and the 4. If the 11 draws in, 11's on the 8.
Gotcha. when you're talking about coming up with obscure formulas, I'm picturing The Hangover and Zach Galifianakis with the all the stuff, sort of the animation circling around his head. I wish we had the production quality to get that kind of a thing done. The
Very
reason
similar.
I'm talking nonsense here is because I don't have much to add. I mean, this is the horse that I like too. Great name, by the way, though perhaps more appropriate to your wife than to you, Haute Couture. I just thought it was as simple. I mean, I get what you're saying about the late pace. I think that's there, but this is a horse that has good finish and is going to get a setup, or sure looks like is going to get a setup in this spot. Haute Couture for both of us in race number 7. Let's move on to the next race in the sequence. We kick off the late pick 5 with a 3-year-old filly turf allowance race going a mile and a 16th. Another race where it looks to me, I'm agreeing with Timeform US that there could be a pace burn up in this spot. I thought that the 9 runner Bella Nose closed well against the flow last time, and then maybe can take advantage of a better setup here. You might have to pay a little bit of an extra tax with Irad Ortiz getting aboard, but I think this is one of those instances where it might be worth it. Bella Nose for me. Can we make it 2 races in a row where we agree, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, the horse is probably going to be a little overbet, but I do think that off of that layoff last time, you would expect a step forward. There's 2 horses that I think that are nice prices that interest me. The first one would be 5 Page Turner, who's getting Lasix, and is also trying the grass for the first time, but does have some pedigree that suggests that shouldn't be the worst thing that's ever happened, right? Speedboat Beach ran on the turf. Law Fantastic also ran on the turf. And it's Cherie. I think Cherie has an eye for finding the types of horses that will handle the grass, and making the switch with Page Turner is one that I would trust her in that situation. And then Bourbon Betty, I talked about that obscure math. This is the type of horse I used to kind of want to throw out, a horse that gets loose, isn't able to pull it off from being loose in a situation. And then obviously last time was the time at 20-1 when the horse ran third, but I'll give that one another shot. An inside draw for a tactical horse, always one to consider. And then obviously you got to look at this Chad Brown runner making her second start, probably one that could be in the mix as well, but not one that I have to like single or anything like that. Just this is probably more of a spready sequence for a race for me throughout the sequence, but those are the few that I would use, including the one that you were talking about, the 9 Bella Nose.
The 2 runners, Crossover Capital, who won on debut, I definitely get and would include. I did think maybe had a little bit of a setup in there, but Chad Brown, a runner who's going to probably improve. And we've seen over time, right, that just because they start their career at Monmouth, that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't fit at Saratoga, right? I mean, you follow Chad pretty closely. Do you think that's accurate, or do you hold that against a Chad runner at all?
Not at all. I mean, I've actually seen Chad one time. He touches every single one of those horses that's down there every day with his assistant in detail. He knows everything that's going on with every single one of them. And I don't think it's one of those deals where they're afterthoughts down there. It's just when you have whatever it is, 300 plus horses in training, you can't have them all here.
Makes sense. And I'm sure he's making the right decisions about where they fit. Let's move on to the stakes portion of today's show. We've got the grade 2 Vanderbilt up next. We're going 6 furlongs on the dirt. I liked him, the 6 runner here, in the DeFrancis a lot, and thought that was a pretty impressive race, all things considered, quickening off that even pace and just putting that field to bed. We certainly know that Ron Moquette knows how to handle a good sprinter, and I thought this horse could maybe just handle the rise in class given the sharp form. I think the 4 Pete is in reach for this one, but there is going to be a big favorite in the form of number 8 Built, and I'm not looking to stand in the way of him either. I'll have plenty of 8s on my tickets. I'll ask it this way, JK. Are you with or against Built in this spot?
No, I'm all the way with. I like Built quite a bit. Drawn outside, he just feels like the one that's going to be very tough to beat. He'd be a single A for me, and then I would save a single B with Just Beat the Odds. The 4. I just feel like Built is going to be tough. I think the pace is going to play into Built's hands for whatever reason. If Built doesn't fire, it feels like Just Beat the Odds is going to end up having a nice trip too. Built could sit off of Just Beat the Odds, so if Built doesn't fire, Just Beat the Odds could wire him here. I think he'll be aggressively ridden by Manny Franco with Greg Sacco having 2 in the race. I think that helps quite a bit. Yep. That he could be aggressive with this one to set up for the other one. Not too aggressive to get into a duel, but aggressive enough to find the front. Built sitting outside of him. Just those 2 for me. Built as a single A.
What's your issue with him? You are questioning the rise in class here. What didn't you like about that runner?
Yeah, I mean, I think him's probably one that's going to appreciate a little bit more pace in front of him. I don't think this, I don't get too carried away with like stats. Like, yesterday on the show, I think we said a stat. I don't know how much you've been paying attention, so you'll find this one probably interesting. But like Safi, Joseph, Chad, and Todd are like 0 for 70 on the dirt so far for the meet. Like that's one of
Sounds
those
very
deals where
random.
like that just feels more like noise than signal. Like, so what you're trying to tell me that that there's some reason that those three aren't winning. I just don't see that. I would say the same thing about the fact that like Ron Moquette hasn't. This is Andy's stat. He's dropped it. Ron Moquette hasn't won at Saratoga since Whitmore, which is a while ago. But I guess if you're looking, how I am with stats. If I want to believe something or I want to do something, then I'll allow stats into my life to prove me right. But I don't usually let them dictate what I want to do. So I don't really want to use him. So I'm going to selectively use that stat that I don't think means very much.
That's very funny. I mean, I have, without having looked at the numbers, I'm going to say this is the best and fastest horse he's had since Whitmore, who he's run at Saratoga. So that would be my basis for not letting that bother me. But we'll see how it plays out. We'll both have built-on tickets. I'm going to try to sneak him in there. You made a good case for the 4-runner. Let's move on to the featured race of the day, the CCA Oaks. I think for a bit on the show, they should let you ride in one of those coaches out on the track, or maybe instead of cart talk one week, you could do like coach talk. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually did. I saw that what it was. I looked it up. To be able to be in the coaching club of New York, you had to be able to ride a 4 horses with one hand.
Horses. Yeah, 4 horses with one hand. Good luck. Good luck to you, my friend.
Yeah, for me, the question came up on the show yesterday about kind of counting stars versus always a runner. And I just think that like they're probably both a lot closer than their 2 races against each other individually suggest, right? The way that always a runner ran in the Oaks suggests that always a runner was much better than counting stars. And I don't think that's actually true. The Acorn counting stars looked like she was much better than always a runner, which I don't think is actually true. I think they're both probably pretty similar. And I think the equity in a race like this, which we've seen and talked about before, is not hitching your wagon to both of them, but just picking one of them, and you pick up a lot of equity, not wasting money on other combinations. So while I do find Directive to be an interesting alternative, a horse you could possibly look at as a B type to use in situations moving forward, and even like the Alabama, I think. And then Laras Cass is another one who I've always kind of been a little bit interested in, thought was a little bit interesting. But for me, I think always a runner is the one that I want. I was able to spend some time with Chad this week, and he said that basically leading up to the Acorn, always a runner was just a different horse. She just wasn't really mentally where she is now. And he feels like the Kentucky Oaks plus all of that took a toll on her. And he's made some adjustments that's not happening now. So I think we're going to get that good version of always a runner. And I think the good version of always a runner beats counting stars.
I definitely want to have always a runner on tickets. I'm a big fan. I love that little bit of inside info. And I just think that, very obviously a big contender here. But I'll make the Laras Cass case. This is an unexposed runner. Looking to make it 3 for 3. This is a trainer who's done terrific work these past few seasons. I love the push button look that she's got. And yes, she's slower than these on paper, but with that progressive profile, I agree with you that she's one that could potentially step up. I've got her on the short list, and I think at the prices, I'm just going to go ahead, make her my main pick. I will probably back up. I will definitely back up with always a runner, and I'm trying to decide. You might be right in terms of ticket construction, that you're better off, picking one of those 2 favorites to have on side. But I mean, counting stars is just so darn obvious. I'm not sure if I want to leave her out. I'll figure that out as we get closer. But for the official pick for me, it's Laras Cass in the CCA Oaks. Let's get to the late double. We've got a 5.5 furlong state bred first level allowance race that is coming up next. I think you can make a case, Jonathan, that this is the most open race of the meet. I did find an angle on one that I definitely want to bet, but I'm going to punt. I'm going to make you go first here. Who do you think wins it?
Yeah, I mean, I love two horses in here. The first one is where is this horse? There's that horse. The 12,
Great podcasting.
the
Okay.
12 Fairy Godmother. I think the last race wasn't very good. Two back, I thought that race actually was pretty good, and definitely one that I would use. Drawn well outside, hopefully doesn't get stopped in the mix, that type of horse. But the one that like really grabbed my attention, where if someone told me I had to single, I wouldn't really put up too much of a fight, is the 4 Moonlight Ready. I thought this horse ran really well first time for Charlie Baker. The pace was honest. The horse came in off a long layoff, so there's an excuse to get tired in a fast-paced race like that, and they didn't. So you're going to get even a tighter version of Moonlight Ready, I think. You're going to get a rider upgrade. No offense to our friend Angel Cordero, who has the Bug Girl, but Johnny, obviously, I don't have to really apologize for that. Johnny's won more races at Saratoga than any other human, and he might go down as the greatest rider of all time. So I don't, I try not to say mean things, but I think it's a rider upgrade. I love that horse. I think that horse is going to be very tough, a type of horse that I wouldn't mind building the sequence around.
Funny enough, this is a race where I left, I think, 9 horses open, like as possible uses. We landed on the same ones, but especially Moonlight Ready. I think when you look at that last race, coming off that long layoff, absolutely had license to be gassing out late. Gets a little bit of a cutback here, but I don't even think necessarily needs that. That last race though, those sectionals early on, time for him up that figure 10 points. And then, I did have a little knee jerk. Oh, well, they're 37-1 last time and going to be less than 6-1 here. Do I want that? And the answer is definitely, because I think off that 500-day layoff, that big price last time tells you that very little was expected. And she may have surprised connections doing that almost on her own rather than on training. 2 work since, a barn I love to bet at Saratoga. I'm really talking myself into number 4, Moonlight Ready, especially with you seconding that emotion, JK. Maybe we can get this one home and set up some payouts here in the Twin Spires tournament in all the late picks at Saratoga. This one, we've got State Bred Maiden 50s to close it out, going a mile in the 16th on the grass. I was boring. I got 2 of the favorites. What do you think? How are we going to get paid?
No, I mean, I think this is just a wide open situation. I mean, I think the 14 would be very interesting if they drew in, but they're pretty deep on the AE. It doesn't feel likely. Here's how I wrote it down in order. Let's see what, how many of these actually get in. 14, 10, 13, 12, 7, the 9. I mean, I would try to use as many as I possibly can. And the thing about it is, because I have some pretty skinny opinions elsewhere, I do have the ability to be as deep and as wide as I possibly can in this last race.
I want to ask you about Lobbyist, because that's the one I actually had on top, the 5 runner. I just thought had a no-shot trip last time out, trying to close into a slow pace, and that one fit. And then I thought that the 7 Leave Me, very obvious on the drop after decent efforts against better. I got to go back and look at all these AEs that you're talking about. I didn't have any of them on my list to talk about for the show, but I mean, they all seem logical, especially that 14 runner, though very unlikely to participate. But what's your thought on Lobbyist? Is this another you'd want to have on side, or is this a favorite you'd be willing to let beat you here in the last?
Yeah, I didn't love the last race. The 2-back race was acceptable. One that I did, but there's a fast paced horse, got a great trip, a good setup. That would be one concern I had at a short price. I'm not going to get beat by this horse in a race where I'm using 8 or 9 horses, but not one that's at the top of my list. Definitely one that in a pricing situation, I would fade away from that favoritism.
Gotcha. More of a defensive use, not one that you really like. I kind of just punted and did put on top and have this one 5-7. We'll see how it turns out. I mean, you're right. It was a good setup last 2-back, but I thought the setup last time was like notably bad in a way where in an open looking race, maybe you get a decent price on this horse and you're more of a backable type of a favorite. Certainly not one I'd want steamed down into heavy favoritism, but that's what we're gonna leave it for this show. We encourage you to go to twinspires.com, check out their full lineup of tournaments, a lot more on tournaments all over the country coming up on the In the Money airwaves. Once again, drop us a comment and let us know who you like, whether it's in the Oaks or the Vanderbilt or any of these races. Love to get a little conversation going there. We're going to be back with much more content, so keep it locked in the Money Media. Peter Thomas Fornitel for Jonathan Kinchin. quick thank yous to everybody out there for viewing, for listening, to our friends at 10 Strike Racing for being the founding partners of the In the Money Media Network, and also our charity partners, Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga. Learn more about them and the great work they do in themoneypodcast.com/horses. That's it for this show. Keep it locked on In the Money Media, and may you win all your photos.